We'd like to thank CarrierFit for sponsoring our first season of the BabyWearing podcast. CarrierFit is not just a carrier, but a whole parenting support package. Get the carrier designed to help you and your baby bond and move together your way. Also get access to the CarrierFit app, which includes postnatal support in baby wearing, core and pelvic floor, sleep, fitness, and so much more. Check out CarrierFit and all they offer at www.getcarrierfit.com. You can also use our code CoorieCarry for a discount when you buy.
Hello and welcome to the Coorie and Carry On podcast.
Thank you for joining us to talk about all things baby wearing.
I'm Laurna.
And I'm Gemma.
And we are trained consultants
here to support you to carry safely. So, hello everyone. Today we are joined by the wonderful Annika from BabyBjörn, and we are very excited to have her here. So, for today, if you could just say hello, Annika, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello everyone, and first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here and talk to you. We've always had good discussions. So I'm Annika. I'm Global Head of Communication at BabyBjörn. I have been that for almost 28 years, which means that baby wearing has been a big part of my life, and have had the pleasure of working with many baby wearing consultants in both Asia, US, and Europe, and been thrilled to see the development. So thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to
we're
have you.
To.
Yes, definitely. So let's chat a wee bit about BabyBjörn as a whole, and then we'll talk about obviously what your role is and what you kind of do. So tell us a wee bit about the origins of BabyBjörn and what and who inspired its creation, because not everyone will know all of this information.
Yeah. So BabyBjörn was founded in 1961 by Björn Jakobsson. He then so sorry. He created a bouncing chair, which was revolutionary back then. And because it was revolutionary, he needed help and support from the medical community. And he worked closely with them. And at the end of the 60s, there were research coming that closeness for babies was really important. I think it's hard to realize now, but taking care of babies was a more clinical thing in the 60s. They were crying was supposed to be good for them. There was a fear that baby would be too spoiled, and breastfeeding was very regulated. And here came new research that showed that body contact was not only important, but crucial for baby's development. So they told him, develop a baby carrier, which he did. So in 1973, close to heart, the first baby carrier was introduced. And it became, of course, popular, but it was also in the Western community a bit of a new concept. Of course, in many other parts of the world, baby wearing has always been on the agenda, but in the Western world, it was sort of a concept that had been forgotten. So more and more parents realized, what a wonderful feeling it was to carry around their little ones. But Björn, always wanting to improve and facilitate, was not happy. So he spent years developing a new one. And so in 1991, what was called the original baby carrier, the one that many recognizes, came, which was easy to handle. You didn't need the help of anyone else, and the baby could face forward and inward, and a much simpler way. And that's the carrier that conquered the world, really. When I joined in 1997, baby carriers was not on the purchasing list for many parents in Europe. But that changed, and as we know today, it's an essential piece for many parents.
Yeah.
And as you know, since then we've had developed many different carriers and models, and
there's
now
lots.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more now.
Nobody questions, the importance of, having the baby and how wonderful it is. So
yeah, and there's a lot more options now, because obviously when I think especially when people are just getting into baby wearing and looking at carriers, when they think of BabyBjörn, they think of the original, because that's what I think will come to mind for a lot of people. The simple panel with the cross on the back, with the crossover, and then the narrow base harness carrier. So how has that changed over the years into the models that we see now?
Well, a lot, because the carrier became so popular, parents wanted to carry their babies for much longer periods, and also much bigger babies, and that puts a totally different demand on a carrier. So that's why we now have several different models, and especially for parents who want to carry, larger and heavier baby for a longer time.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a tiny baby, the pictures of me being carried are very much in sort of a metal frame with like a canvas hammock in it, essentially, on my dad's back. And so that would have been the late 80s. So compared to what BabyBjörn brought out in the sort of early 90s, which was the harness style. And for anybody who's not seen it, like Laurna says, you put it on like a little jacket and then you clip it at the front, and then you sit your baby against your chest and you put the back panel up over your baby. And it clips in with two sort of sliding clips. That would have been what we would consider the original BabyBjörn. But there has been quite a lot of change over the years. So we've got, as I said, the original, which is what is called a narrow-based carrier, but you've brought out more sort of wider bases now. So do you want to maybe talk us through some of the changes that went through that design process, going from what you started with to where we are today with the different styles available?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so the original carrier has been developed more, and now we don't have that carrier anymore. But we have the mini carrier, who has the same sort of back constructions, but with a more versatile base. So parents can choose, what kind of width they want. I think what is crucial to point out when it comes to baby wearing is that a baby carrier can, as long as the legs are spread and the legs can move, there can be no harm done to the baby's body. We do know that many parents prefer wider base. That's why we have models that offer that. But there's also parents who like the style of mini, which is not a narrow-based carrier. I think that's an expression that is a bit misused sometimes, describing carriers, because it offers a quite wide base. When they're newborn and when they're small, you can get a quite wide position in it.
Yeah, it would depend on So no, sorry, it was the like, if you put an older child in the mini, it would look like a narrow base, but if you have a younger child, which it's designed for, then it is going to offer that support, because obviously there's not as much space under the bum.
No. And definitely, if you are going to carry a heavier, bigger baby, and the legs get longer, it's definitely more comfortable with a wider base. So I think,
as you say, you have wider based carriers. So
yes,
and again, I'm just saying narrow bases exist. Doesn't mean they're good or bad. They just, the original BabyBjörn was a lot narrower. Yeah, they absolutely do. And for anybody who's wondering why you might choose a narrow-based carrier, there are lots and lots of reasons why a narrow base might suit you and your child. However, BabyBjörn does do wider carriers now. And certainly we've had the Harmonies come out fairly recently, I think is the most recent one. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yes. So what would be sort of the differences between the Mini and the Harmony that people might want to know about?
So the Harmony will take you much longer than the Mini. The Mini is for the first, we say, 11 kilos, and it's a perfect, easy to put on. The Harmony has a sturdier harness, but also a waistband that will distribute the weights, more evenly on the body. It has 3 different headrest positions, so it's more versatile in that way. It has a newborn position, and then it grows with a baby, but then it can also be used on the back.
Yeah.
Yes, Laurna does love
So
a
the
back
Harmony
carry.
will take you much longer.
I have the Harmony. I have quite a few BabyBjörns, but the Harmony is really that difference in the headrest position, I think
Yeah.
makes a big difference. And also it's a lot softer than the other models, which have like the center panel can be quite stiff, and especially that top flap that I think we're going to come to questions about that, but it can be quite hard to keep that down. And I really love that feature on the Harmony, because you can get those different positions and it sits so nice. And it's the new I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, the melange fabric, which is really, really nice. And I've got one of those, and it is a lovely carrier for if you want a harness carrier. And for those listening, when we talk about a harness carrier, which BabyBjörn is a harness style of carrier, it means that you put a panel on your body first. There's panels that go on your chest, baby comes to your body, and then the other panel comes over and attaches on. So there's straps between you and baby, which fits to your body. So yeah, so as a harness carrier, it is definitely one of the nicer, softer options that
It
actually
is.
adjusts.
Yeah, sorry, and I think it's a softer option, but still it will take you longer. We have the one carrier, which is a more sturdy carrier, which is also wonderful, if you prefer that. But the Harmony also has the buckles on the side, which makes it more like an embrace.
Yeah.
You put it on.
Yeah, I think the BabyBjörns are one as consultants we see a lot of, and people come in to get support fitting them and things. And again, we do see a lot of other harnesses that come in to us. The BabyBjörns are by far and away our nicest harnesses, because for anybody else who's been down the middle of Lidl, you will find some cheap harnesses down there. There is a reason that they are priced at sort of 30 to £50. They do not last very long, and they do not feel very nice. The only way I can describe how those sort of harnesses feel is almost shiny. They've got a very cheap fabric.
Crinkly.
That's not something you get with BabyBjörn. Yes, very crinkly fabric, but you don't get that with BabyBjörn. You do get a very high-end product. So with the sort of the research that you've been putting into the carriers, obviously your fabric choices and everything will be there. So would you say that sustainability for how the carriers are produced is important to BabyBjörn?
Absolutely crucial. Of course, the whole production, when it comes to the whole production chain, where we work hard. Also with the materials, we are a product producing company. We're always going to make an climate impact. So and minimizing that is through products that are used for many families, many babies, and are used a lot. And that puts an extremely high demand on the materials that we choose. And their durability, safety, of course. All carriers are Oecotex approved, which guarantees that there are no harmful substances or no harmful level of substances. Making sure that parents, the babies can suck on the carriers, and parents don't have to worry. And of course, the carriers are so close to the baby's skin all the time. But the durability is key for us because we know that most carriers are handed down between friends and family, and we also know the second-hand value is high, which we're terribly proud of, and we try to support the second-hand market as much as we can. On our website, we have tips, what you can look for. So. The textile department works really hard, trying to find different alternative materials. And for sure, the future is going to hold, some fantastic ones. But at the moment, we have quite traditional materials, but that's because of the durability.
One of the questions that was asked was exactly that, was about the value of being able to hand it down between children. So I've got two kids. So if I'd used my BabyBjörn for baby one, then baby two, and then passed it to my cousin who used it for baby one and two, how long would you say on average a BabyBjörn carrier can last in good condition?
Very, very difficult to say because it depends on what climate, if it's been stored in a humid attic or in a very dry. It is plastic and it is textile. Depends on how many washings. There are bibs that protects the carrier, so you don't have to wash it that many times. But it just definitely depends on washings and wearing and wear, sort of, if it's been in direct sunlight and all that. So it's very hard. But we know that every carrier in general is used for probably 3-4 babies, which makes that more than 50 million babies have been carried in a BabyBjörn up to date.
Amazing. That's amazing.
And another thing that we talked about when we met in London is the issue. A lot of people will take their carrier out and look and find that wee label and be like, bringing out that big label. So, and when you explained why that label is there, it was like, chat to me, it was like, that is so brilliant. So talk about, why does BabyBjörn carriers have such a massive label attached onto them?
Because we know that it's handed down, and we know for sure that the box has not been saved, and probably not the owner's manual. Even though we think the owner's manual is very, very important, we know that it's probably not the most loved literature that is saved. So because it's handed down probably 3-4 times, we have added long labels with the instructions so that they will always be there.
Yeah. And I thought that's brilliant. It's because you do see so many, not just BabyBjörn, but you do see so many carriers on the secondhand market, and people get it and they'll try it on. They'll be like, "Is this right? I don't know how it works." And it's like, "Have you got the instructions?" "Oh, I bought it secondhand." But like, well, if it's a BabyBjörn, you have them attached. So it's really cool to have that and know that that's why it's there. So if you do have a BabyBjörn, don't cut off that big label. Just roll it up and tuck it in the wee pocket that it's there for. And keep it safe. It comes in a nice wee pocket. So, what are some common misconceptions about baby carriers, and how does BabyBjörn address them?
I think the most common misconception that we see is that a baby carrier can cause or worsen hip dysplasia, which of course, worries a lot of parents. We have worked with leading orthopedists and experts since the beginning of the development of carriers, because of course we would never ever consider manufacturing anything that can be harmful to babies. The whole business idea is based on safety and the well-being of babies. So that has always been our top priority. The main thing, and we work together with Hip Dysplasia Institute, International Hip Dysplasia Institute, who acknowledges all our carriers as hip healthy. And they stress the fact that as long as the knees are separated and the babies have free room to move their legs, they're in a good position. And then, of course, I think baby wearing is a very individual choice. We always talk about the perfect fit, but there's no perfect fit for everyone. There's a perfect fit for you and your baby at that occasion. But your baby is going to be, in 3 weeks, your baby's going to have a totally different posture. So, And I do understand that new parents want exact advice. But I think it would be unhelpful to talk about centimeters and degrees and angles because they're stressed as it is, and it's difficult. And even the doctors say when there's talk about angles, they need an ultrasound machine to see the exact angle.
Yeah.
So to instruct the parents how to do it would not be helpful. And I think the second misconception is that the back needs to be in a certain certain curve. Um, the spine of the baby is actually straight, and when you think about it, they sleep on their back for maybe 16, 18 hours when they're small. So the important thing is that the carrier respects the baby. It doesn't put it in an extreme position. A slumping position is the worst thing we can see because then the chin would be falling to the chest. So a good position. And on the subject, I think it's very unfortunate that there are so many rumors and misconceptions around baby carriers and about the time they are in the carriers, because when you think about a little baby's day, they sleep maybe 16 hours on their back, they spend time in a car seat, they might be in a swing or a bouncing chair. They absolutely need to do tummy time. We know how important that is. You might hold them in your arms where you sort of cradle them. So and that's perfect because the baby needs to be in different positions. So I think it's I'm sad actually to hear that just those half hours or hours when they're in a carrier, it would be there will be only one position that will be healthy and other carrier other things would be dangerous. I don't think it's helpful for young parents.
No, I think that's a fair point, is that especially new parents, so parents who are on baby one, and because I remember the feeling of overwhelming fear about I've got to keep this child alive.
Yes,
It's like, oh my goodness.
And you want somebody to tell you, this is the right way to do things. But there is no right way because every child is different, every parenting dyad is different.
And it changes week to week as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Which
And again, as you say,
soon as you get in that
needs...
rhythm, it's changed.
Yeah, they do, right? Yeah.
The second you think you've cracked it, that's when it all changes. Yeah. But I think your point about the angle of hips that everybody gets really worried about, everybody wants a really deep squatted in. For children who do have hip dysplasia or any kind of hip issue, actually a lot of the time consultants will put them in a narrower carrier, and the reason for that is if the child is in a hip brace, we don't want the carrier interfering with the angle that the doctors have put the hips at, and so quite often we will put them in a narrower style of carrier to allow the brace to do its work. So absolutely, earlier when I was saying there's very much a space for narrow-based carrier, that's the kind of thing we were thinking about, is if your child is in medical equipment, it is ideal to slide under a harness and hold them in place. So again, I completely hear your point there that people do get very hung up on these sort of arbitrary social media rules that go out about the C shape or the J shape or the M shape, or we like letters a lot in baby wearing. It's an alphabet soup.
Yeah. And then the TICKS as well. We've got all of letters. Yeah. I had parents in the other day that were very like, baby needs to be in this J shape, but baby had really good strong control and was sitting up, and they had a lovely base in the seat. They were sitting up and looking around, and because of that their back straightened or kind of curved in just that little bit when they were looking up, and they were like, but is this okay? Is this okay? And I'm like, let's talk about all of these points. So it very much depends on the baby's age, the development stage, the sling or carrier that you're using. It's very, very hard for us to say this is exactly how your baby will look in this sling because they all change. And as well, they will sit in a different position when they're awake and when they're asleep. So trying to reassure people that what you're wanting is airways is always our top safety point, and then look at the position that makes sure it's supporting the baby. And obviously that's what we do in all the carriers.
No, I agree. And I think that's what we do now. We actually offer virtual fit sessions, that you can talk to one of our baby carrier specialists to find out. Because just yesterday I had a question from a mother, and she said, my baby's 71 centimeters. How many centimeters should the zipper be open, when I carry? And it's one of those things that you would love to say 3.5 centimeters, but it's not going to help her, because the baby's going to change. So I think offering virtual fit sessions where we can talk about different, and just making the parent comfortable, and feeling that they know what they're doing. They know their baby, and they're gonna see if the baby's comfortable.
And we do them a lot, don't we? Fit checks are like super popular.
Oh yeah. Because again, people will go out and they will either have a carrier that's been handed down to them, or they will pick one up secondhand, or they will just go to a shop and buy a carrier because that's the carrier in the shop. And then they go home, they try and put it on. They can feel it's not right because they go, my baby feels loose. I don't feel safe taking my hands off my baby because it's very instinctive. The second you put a carrier on and it doesn't feel right, I've never seen a parent yet who's let their child slump in a carrier and not went, something's wrong. So
squeeze them up.
So I would say fit checks are very much the bread and butter of what we do. So
yes, and I think those are also because then we can talk about the importance of free airways. That the nose and mouth have to be free at all times.
Absolutely. And I'm aware of, like you say, BabyBjörn was one of the sort of first carriers that came to the Western market. Certainly one of the first buckle carriers that came, and has done a huge amount for popularizing baby wearing in the West. Because again, like you say, we very much fell away from our baby wearing culture. And I don't know if anybody else is aware, but BabyBjörn were involved in a study on bonding and breastfeeding in Italy. I think it was I want to say 2013 it was. But you donated a lot of carriers and they were used to study whether or not breastfeeding was more prevalent in children who were carried than children who were and less carried and bonded pairs. So with that kind of thing, would you say that BabyBjörn's continues to sort of be very interested in supporting the bonding between parent and child, or caregiver and child?
Absolutely. I think that's that's what keeps us going. I think that's, the motivation every day. I think it's pretty much common knowledge now with also the oxytocin studies that having the baby close is actually good for producing milk, and it's definitely those two go hand in hand, and that's why it's we talked about that earlier. Breastfeeding and baby wearing is a bit of a tricky combination because there are so many safety aspects to take into consideration. It is absolutely possible, but the baby needs to be repositioned afterwards. When the feeding is done, the baby has to be in a position where the nose and the mouth are free.
Yeah, I think so many people take up baby wearing because they think, oh, well, I'll be able to feed in my carrier. And yes, for anybody listening, that is very much something you can do in a baby wearing carrier. The issue is it has to be done safely. So you must always have one hand on your child at a minimum, and you must be able to observe the airway throughout the feed. It is not something you can just put your child in and then, start doing the dishes.
No.
It is always, carrier is to be used as a feeding aid, a support to take the weight out of your arms. It's not there to replace the moment of feeding with you and your child. And certainly with breastfeeding, we get a lot of parents coming in concerned about how the carriers will fit over their breasts. Is that something you find that BabyBjörn gets a lot of questions about?
here and then, and I think it's one of those tricky things because parents come in so many different, or mothers come in so many different sizes, and the breasts are located in different, you know,
Yes.
they come in different shapes, right? So I think there again, it's hard to say what's the perfect fit. I think it's
Mhm.
going to be a very individual.
Yeah, we usually, because when you do have a harness style carrier,
Yeah,
sometimes it can be harder to try and feed in, and then sometimes it's easier to just take baby out of the panel and feed
yeah,
and then put back in, which is going to be safer sometimes to do.
yeah,
And that's an option in every carrier. Because depending on your bust size, if you have a larger bust, then anything that's got a strap over your chest can be more difficult to get into a position. And we never want to kind of put any pressure and restriction on breast tissue
no,
when you're feeding as well.
no, no.
So yeah, it does it can work for some people, but this is the
Yeah.
same with every sling and carrier. It
Mm.
can work for some and it can't work for others. If you are going to do it, you need to learn how to do it safely. And that's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you would contact ourselves, or you can contact your local sling library. And all of that information is always in our socials and show notes as well. So yeah, it's one of those things that it's an option as long as it's done safely and baby is always repositioned back up with a
yeah.
clear airways and clear face. Um,
Yeah.
let's yeah. Uh, so what advice would you give to new parents who are unsure about using a carrier?
Uh, I would say try lots of different options. It's definitely not a one size fits all. Different options. Also take into consideration that I know it's hard when you have a little newborn that baby is going to triple in weight in maybe 9 months and be in a totally different shape. So try to figure out, in what situations you're going to use the carrier, what kind of lifestyle you have, or is it just going to the supermarket, or would you want to go for long hikes and sort of thing. So, definitely try out different options.
I mean, we say that all the time as well, is trying to
Mm,
figure out what it is you want the carrier for.
mm,
And as well, I think more and more we're seeing uh, multiple people in the family carry. So it used to be this was very much a female dominated industry. There was women carried babies and women looked after the babies, and women were teaching about looking after babies. And more we're starting to see more diversity appear in
mm,
baby wearing. I see lots of dads coming through now, lots of parents who identify across the spectrum. So we'll see sort of two dad families, two mum families, we see non-binary families. It's wonderful to see. And again, that, like you were saying earlier about the shapes of people's bodies, we've got people who've got breasts, who don't have breasts, who are
mm,
tall,
mm,
short, wide, narrow, all sorts of body weights and shapes. So it's really interesting now seeing carriers sort of diversify to fit these range of bodies.
mm,
And again, something that I often say to clients is you might not be a one and done kind of carrier.
mm,
So I tend to find in my practice, certainly, that men very much enjoy BabyBjörns because they like that it is a very clickable carrier. There's a lot of click, click,
Daddies
we're
like
sorted.
buckles, don't
They
they?
put it
They're
on first.
obsessed.
mm.
Daddies love a buckle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, but I think it's one of my favorite subjects actually because Björn and Lillemor Jakobsson, who founded the company, uh, they actually used dads in advertising in the 60s. So when they developed the carriers, they used as many dads as mothers, to make it fit, because they've always known, how important the bonding is between the baby and the dad, and the carrier can actually facilitate it. If you're an insecure man, with a new baby, a carrier can be the perfect thing. And that I think the original, when it came, all of a sudden, rock stars and politicians and, half of Hollywood men used it. And so they became role models. And that's where because Lily Moore designed it. She designed it with the parents' outfits and styles in mind. Instead of putting ducks and ice creams, on the carrier, she had a pinstripe or a black one or a navy one, which fitted. And I think that's also important for parents.
They're definitely
That
more stylish now,
to
I
be
think, as
comfortable.
well. Yeah. And I think as well, when that helps make people's decision as well. When a lot of parents are choosing a carrier, they're going to look for one that will fit in with their color scheme of their clothes, of their style. You might not want a rainbow one like I would choose, and you might want something a bit more muted. And one that we see a lot, and BabyBjörn does really well, is leopard print, which is really popular design. I have the mini in leopard, and it's very popular because it's the leopard print. So yeah, it's definitely seen as something more stylish now, and an accessory, like as a handbag would be an accessory, or a hat. It's not just a baby carrier thing that you put on. It's definitely something that can be very personal to you and to your what you're like as well.
And that's why it's so wonderful, because the more comfortable you are, the more you're going to have your baby clothes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having the option to have not just multiple styles of carrier, but if the BabyBjörn is the carrier um like my husband and I were very different shapes. So there's a lot of adjustment that goes on if we share a carrier. So it could be that we both love the BabyBjörn, but we actually have one each, so that there's less sort of tightening and adjusting, because my waist is substantially wider than his. So my waist belts always have to come out. He has to tighten them. So again, I find the Bjorn is a really nice fit for people who've got sort of flatter chests, especially for men who tend to like, that kind of rucksack style feel of something.
On click.
Yes, clip, feel secure. There's no drop in the baby. It
And
feels
it's
safe.
very simple as well. I think with as female parents, we tend to have a bit more patience and a bit more time to learn things. With dads, and they tend to kind of want something that's very quick and very simple. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to reach behind them. They don't have to. That's what I think as well makes it very simple with, especially BabyBjörn, because everything's at the front. They don't have to think about anything behind. It's so simple.
And I think that's always been a vision, that the safety is in the simplicity. The easier it is, the safer it is. But Björn always said that the carrier has to work, in the middle of the in the middle of the night, when it's pitch dark and your baby is screaming, and then it has to be easy. It has to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been that parent who's been out walking at 3 a.m. trying to calm a screaming baby by taking them out into the cold air and being like, please just stop for 2 minutes. So it's really interesting that was sort of the founder's vision was, I've been up at 3 a.m. I need to be able to put them in and just be calm and quiet.
And it's also nice, it's also nice to know that somebody who's been in that position that has thought of that. Like, a lot of carriers are just like, oh, we're just going to make a carrier that works. This is a carrier that's there for a need that every parent has in the middle of the night. It's like, what can I do? Put the baby on, they're going to calm down and just have a minute where you can maybe get a cup of coffee.
No, but I think, that's how Björn thought, but that is sort of, still part of the brand. Everybody who works here are very involved. Many of us have children. Some of us don't, but we have been involved in children and safety for many years. We have babies in the office all the time, testing prototypes or testing existing carriers, because we want to change material, or, you wanted to do something. So having parents involved at every stage is crucial for us. So it's a combination. The experts are there and, always giving their advice, but the babies are always there too.
Yeah, because babies have their opinions as well, don't they?
Yes, yes. And it might be.
Don't they?
And that's typical. Sometimes, there might be a prototype that everybody has really high thoughts of, and then, one family is using it. It's like, all right, dustbin for that, you know. Mhm.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges in the baby product industry? And like we know that BabyBjörn is one of the biggest brands. Like when you ask someone who's just learned they're pregnant and like, right, okay, I know I want to get a carrier. BabyBjörn is always like the tip there. It's like on the top of the list because it's so well known. Do you have any challenges with that, or what helps you kind of stay ahead and stay at the top of the market?
It's almost like two questions. I mean, helping us to stay on top of the market is, you know, having a workforce that we have a large compliance experts who works. They're actually part of the product standard committees. Who worked. We have a test facility that tests everything in-house, on top of all the other tests. Then industrial designers who create all the fantastic prototypes. And then also having the lots of experts involved together with families, making sure that we always listen to families and learn. You have to be able to learn and sometimes rethink what you've been doing. So I think that's what we do. One of the biggest challenges, I think, is that we sometimes end up in mom shaming wars. Coming back to as that there would be one wrong, good and wrong way to carry babies, and so there could be quite, you know, almost quite aggressive sentiments about, you know, different kinds of carrying styles, and that is a challenge because it's hard to address as a company.
I think we've discussed this before as well, didn't we? Like the last meeting, how that there is still that kind of community that thinks BabyBjörn is narrow based and it's bad, and you get a lot of that rather than the company has changed and evolved and there's a lot more options. And I think as well, all of the studies and the stuff that you have on your socials, and please, when you're listening to this, go and look at BabyBjörn's socials and look at what they're putting out. And you've got a fantastic doctor that is doing a lot of stuff on hip health and stuff at the minute, which is really important and nice to kind of see that it's at the forefront. It's not, you're not glossing over it and ignoring it. You're talking about and giving the correct information that people have the wrong information about.
Yeah. And also, you know, we're a family company. We're 100% family owned. And today it's the second generation who runs it with very strong values. They're all parents. They've used the products for their children, and now we have a fourth generation baby, you know, who is is also so, you know, a family company that has, you know, the whole business idea is based on safety and simplicity for parents. And I mean, we would never dream of promoting something that's unsafe, but it would also be a terrible business idea to promote something that's unsafe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that it has remained within the family, and there's not many baby-wearing companies that can say that. They're quite often bought and sold amongst sort of multinational conglomerate type things. So it's amazing to hear that this massive brand is still within the same family, and obviously, like you're saying, you've got these departments of people who are working together. So it's not like we're looking at just off the back of somebody's kitchen table, they're running them up. This is a very big brand that's come from one family.
No, and it's also, if you see the development process, it's a 3-year sort of quite intricate process with lots of gatekeepers and you know, where everything comes through. So it looks like a very engineering process, but then there are lots of babies involved. So I think that's what makes it wonderful.
Yeah, and they've got the biggest opinions of all. You did say earlier the word prototype. Is there anything new and exciting coming our way from BabyBjörn, or is that all hush hush?
It's we have lots of exciting things in the cooking, but I cannot say anything, unfortunately.
Well,
You
that is
tell us
exciting
offline.
just to know.
Tell us when we click off, we're like, oh. So what's your vision for the future of BabyBjörn in the next sort of 5-10 years? What are you looking? Are you looking obviously to just expand on what there is, or is there any big changes?
I think, to reach more families, definitely, expanding all the categories. The baby bouncer is also a big category and a very loved product. We also have kitchen and bathroom and sleep products, where there's always room for improvements. Our idea is never just to launch something, just to launch something. When we want to provide a new solution, we want to find a niche where nobody else has found the right way to solve it. Developing new innovative products that help more parents. It's
Definitely.
solution.
That's good. That's
And
what we want.
we want as many babies to be close to the parents as possible.
Definitely. So we have had a few questions come to us from other consultants and from the public as well. So let's quickly fire through these. So the first one is, what is the reason for the large headrests? So if you don't know BabyBjörn carriers, some of them have a larger panel that comes up and you can fold it down. Some of them, and we talked about that, how some of them are a bit sturdy and they don't fall down. So what is the reason for those?
Well, they are developed to be versatile, so that parents can choose the preferred height and also tightness. As we know, the baby grows quickly, so the headrest needs to be able to support both a newborn but also older babies. Some parents like to keep the headrest up. It's never going to cover the head, but it can cover the back of the head. That is maybe because you want to protect from winds or keep the baby cozy and maybe away from the surrounding. Or the most important thing is that the baby, when the neck is not strong enough, that there's support up to the earlobes, and which also prevents the neck from falling back. But also, so the baby, when they're small, they need a neck support to support the neck. Whether you want to have the headrest higher or not, it would be up to the parent, really. But the important thing is that the headrest, of course, doesn't push the head forward. So then again, free airways and no slumping position is the key.
Yeah. And another headrest question, is there any easy way to keep the headrest down? Because some of them, if they do want it down, because some of them have the sturdier panel in the back, it does stay up. So I've seen people using pegs and clips and stuff. What have you seen, Gemma? Lots of different things to keep it down.
We wouldn't advise any loose, not any loose things close to the baby.
Yeah.
The different models have different headrests, and they can all be folded down, both to support the earlobes or higher. The Harmony has 3 different locking mechanism, so that definitely has a more precise.
Yeah,
you can
and it's a lot softer as well. Yeah.
Yes. We have how-to videos on the website, where you can see how you can use the headrest in different ways.
I've definitely noticed with newer models that have come out, it's almost like there's lines sewn into the fabric to allow you to fold the headrest down to specific angles,
so it doesn't flop out.
which Yeah, so which the original BabyBjörn didn't have. It was very, very stiff. So anybody who's picking one up in sort of a pre-loved shop or something, if you're getting one of the older style BabyBjörns, you will find that'll be hard to fold down. Whereas the newer styles that are more sort of folds up pre-sewn in to help that. And again, another thing that I found helpful was when you fold it down to then adjust the little tighteners to keep it in position.
Yes.
Which again, a lot of people miss. They fold it down and then forget to tighten it to keep it in place. So definitely there are fit things that we can do to support that headrest remaining down.
Yeah, because again, when we talk about the headrest, it has to work for a newborn. It has to work for the little older ones facing inwards. It has to work for the older ones being able to face outwards, and then also for a toddler on the back. So that's why the headrest needs to be versatile.
Definitely. Next question is, do they use organic fibers? And we touched on this about fibers already.
We touched upon it. So all baby carriers are Ecotex approved, meaning no level of harmful substances. And then we have different textile compositions, and both cotton and mesh, and then a lot of mixed, actually, mixed melanges. And as we talked about, from a sustainability point of view, we are making products and that makes a climate footprint. So at the moment, the durability is key, and the materials we use are there because they will last for many babies and many families. But having said that, there's so many different alternative and eco-friendly materials in the making. So I'm sure the future will hold many different materials. And our textile department is definitely 100% working on that.
Next one is, any tips for improving the fit on small babies? It doesn't say, this was just the full question. It didn't say what carrier or what age or size of the baby. So I'd read your instructions.
And unfortunately, this is going to be, the annoying answer of a politician. It's an individual thing. There's no perfect fit, and it depends so much on the body shape of the parent and of course, the baby. So I want to say free airways and no slumping. And
I think
then
taking the time to, before, a lot of people will get a new carrier or a pre-loved carrier and they just instantly want to put it on. And when you're trying to figure out a carrier when it's on your body, it's completely different if you're totally new to it. So take the time, lay it out, look at all the features, look at how they attach, look at how they loosen, look at what they do and where they attach. And this will help you learn how to use it. Or obviously get in touch with us or get in touch with your local sling library to be shown how to use the carrier that you've got. But taking the time to learn the features of your carrier will make it a lot easier for you to then, because you put it on like, oh, I remember there's a clip here that I can tighten, and that will give you a better position as well.
And also make sure that the adjustments are right, because especially when carriers are handed down and you have a newborn, but it might have been used for a 9-kilo baby before. And then the adjustments are not right. So make sure that it's adjusted in the, in the proper way for the size of your baby.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing I see with the mini and the original is because of how the cross on the back works, a lot of people don't realize that little plastic disc moves up and down. So quite frequently I would see people with the cross right on the back of their neck, and then they would tell me my baby feels really heavy, and I'm going, yeah, because you're putting all the weight through your neck.
Basically wearing a baby necklace.
Exactly.
So pushing it through between the shoulder blades, really. Lower down.
Absolutely. So, and again, simple things like that can really make or break your carrier. So it could be that you put it on and it's completely ill-fitted, and then you think, oh, I hate this. But no, actually, it's because if we make 2 or 3 small adjustments, all of a sudden it's the best thing since sliced bread.
So, and that's the thing. with fit checks as well, like 15 minutes looking at a fit check with somebody who knows the carrier can make it go from, oh, I don't like it too much to, oh my goodness, I can go a walk
Yeah,
around and have that freedom. It's sometimes
yeah,
just tiny wee tweaks can make it go from,
yeah.
oh, to ah.
Yeah, and I would also strongly suggest, because sometimes you see someone, my baby hates the carrier and just screams when I put it. It might be the wrong, it might have been the absolute wrong moment to try, try again and make sure the baby is really comfortable before you try baby wearing. And maybe 2 weeks later the baby's going to have a totally different opinion of being carried. So don't give up just because the first or second try is a terrible experience.
Yes,
Yes,
it's something I tell all
always.
my parents
Yeah,
is I tell them you do not try your new carrier with a hungry, a tired,
no,
or an
no,
angry baby. Those
no,
babies are not for new
no,
carriers.
no, no, no.
No, definitely. And try different times a day as well. You might only have time in the evening to practice, but then baby's
Yeah,
near bedtime, they're cranky, they're tired, they're not for it. Try in the morning or try in a different time of day or try in a different place in the house. If you're
yeah,
trying in a
yeah.
bedroom, it's maybe darker. Try in the
Mm,
living room, it's maybe brighter as well. So these
mm,
things, your whole where you are in the house can make a difference to how a baby
mm,
reacts to a
mm.
carrier as well. Simple things like that.
Yeah,
As well as how stressed you are as a parent, because if you are trying your new carrier that you don't know how to work, because if anybody's like me, you will get extremely flustered and start shouting and swearing at it because it's just not doing what it's
no,
supposed to
no, no,
do.
no, yeah.
Never mind that it's
It
you
hasn't
that's not
magically
doing it.
come on my body and fitted.
Yeah. So your baby will very much react to the vibes that you have. So if you have stressed, anxious, confused, concerned sort of feelings, your baby's going to reflect that back to you. They're big mirrors, babies. They like to
Yeah.
just bounce back whatever you're putting out there. So when you're trying your new carrier, you're going to put it on, play about with it before you ever touch your baby.
Yeah,
Once you're a bit more comfortable, you're going to pick your baby up when they're calm and happy, preferably fully fed and clean. And then you're going to try. That's going to give you your best option for getting a good fit the first time. And
yeah.
again, if you can't get a good fit the first time, you're going to get in touch with your local sling consultant. You're going to go straight to BabyBjörn direct and ask them for a fit check. And you're going to tell us what the problem are, and we will help you as professionals.
So we have one last question for you. And it is, are there any counterfeit issues with BabyBjörn? We know as educators and those listening probably will have heard that Ergo Baby is a hugely, hugely faked brand and there's lots of issues with that. I can't say I've seen any counterfeit BabyBjörns over the
No.
years, but have you seen any pop up and you've been like, let's get that, let's get that cancelled already?
There have definitely been copies around, but it's not a big issue. And one of the reasons is that all our buckles are developed in-house. We never buy pre-existing buckles. So they're all patented and actually very, very complicated to copy.
Good.
So we see quite a few copies, and I would say because it would be a very expensive and complicated affair to copy.
Mm. And
I mean, we
copies
do
are
see,
not the same as counterfeits as well.
yeah,
We see a lot of brands that have been copied. They may not be the best copies, but they're
Yeah.
mostly safe.
Yeah.
What were you going to
yeah.
say?
Again, we do see a lot of that. The sort of the cheap harnesses. You can see they've modelled themselves after the BabyBjörn. Um,
Yes,
but
yes.
we're not seeing that same commitment to quality. We're not seeing that same commitment to safety. And again, they will last a much shorter length of time because again, the quality just isn't there in the product. So again, we talk about this a lot as people go, well, why should I pay X amount of pounds for a baby carrier that's only going to last me until they're 18 months from them? Because you're going to get a really good experience for those 18 months, you know. Whereas if you buy something cheap, it's the sort of Boots theory of economics. You buy cheap, you buy twice as often, you know. So absolutely, BabyBjörn, you're going to get a quality product that, as you've been saying throughout this past hour, it is very well researched. It's used to spend a lot of time choosing not just the fit of the carrier, but also testing it with babies, testing the fabrics, like doing lots and lots of research and development. And I think that's something that is very reassuring to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I have, this wasn't on the list, but this is my question to you. Hopefully a fun one to end off. If you could choose all of the models that you've worked with since in your time at BabyBjörn, what one is your favorite and why?
It is actually the 1998 gray pinstripe with golden stripes.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one. You need to send us pictures. That sounds
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. No, that would be my, absolutely the most beautiful one. But I would say when it comes to versatility and practicality, harmony is definitely
Mhm.
Yeah.
the top.
Definitely. Yeah, I got one and it is lovely. I would say that's my favorite
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Gemma, we need to get you one to have a play with. But we will also put on
Yeah.
our socials after this. We will put up videos of us using the different types of BabyBjörn models so that you can all see as well. And feel free, after you've listened to this, feel free to get in touch with us if you need a fit check, ask on our socials, or get in touch with BabyBjörn direct as well. So it's been absolutely fantastic learning a bit more about the brand, about yourself, about how BabyBjörn are just all about safety and simplicity. I think that's what we can take away from it. Is nice to hear. Yeah, and it's been fantastic chatting as always.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Always, always. Perfect. Thank you.